he was so loving that he saw me and he saw that I was too thin, and like a grandfather, he was very concerned. And so he said that we should be separated. It was really quite amazing. And so I stayed in New York, and Bhardraj was at that time painting in Boston. And so I asked, Brahmananda was the temple president in New York, and I asked him if I could go to Los Angeles to learn pujari work. So I went to Los Angeles for some time. And then I was there it was an extended time. It was maybe about 6 months or something like that. And I was very happy doing pujari work and learning from Shilavati, and very, very nice time. So then Prabhupada was away for a long time in London and Germany at that time. And then he was coming back after a very extended time. And he was coming into Los Angeles. Well, what happened was he came into perhaps New York and then Boston after being away for a very long time, maybe a year. And he saw Bhardraj and he said, "Where is your wife?" And Bhardraj, "Well, you sent her away, Prabhupada. She's in Los Angeles." And he said, "Should I send for her?" And Prabhupada said, "Yes. Husband without the wife is only one half. Wife without the husband is only one half." So I had I had the order to go back to Boston.
When Prabhupada came back to Chicago in 1976, I remember that. Prabhupada he was so kind and merciful that he could take away your anxiety just by his glance, So in Chicago, I had been learning to play the mridanga. Prabhupada came in 74, the next time was 76. So I was practicing mridanga for tapes, kirtans, just playing. So I got pretty good. So the next time Srila Prabhupada came, I wanted to play in the kirtan, and, for his pleasure. And when I went to back where the big devotees were leading the kirtan, I grabbed my mridanga. They went like, no, you can't play. So I was like really hurt, I won't mention any names. But I was kind of hurt, so I'd kind of made my way back up to the Vyasa-san, because I was a Kshatriya at the temple, and I was supposed to be close to Prabhupada, And so when I got close to Prabhupada, and I got up to the Vyasa, and I kind of looked. He was looking at me before I even looked up at him. And he just smiled so big. He knew. He just took away all my bad, everything gone. Just gave me his mercy,
I also remember one time Prabhupada was sitting in his garden, and he started speaking about how he was almost frustrated in coming to America because he was trying for P forms from the Indian government to come to America. He had gone from one department to another department, and they were not giving him. He had convinced Sumati Morarji to give him a berth on her steamer, but then Indian government had to sanction his P form. So he said, I was frustrated, I was getting out of the office, and then one Bengali gentleman, he saw me, and he said, he spoke to me in Bengali, how are you, Baba, what do you want, is there anything you have come here for, Swamiji? So he said, yeah, what is your name? My name is Banerjee. Oh. So I started speaking to him Bengali, and that man, Banerjee, he went around from this table to that table and got his P form sanction. And he says, just Krishna's mercy. So how much I tried and it didn't happen, and this man, immediately last minute he did it. So he helped me, and then I came to America, and I used to go to, sometimes I would go back to the pier on which I landed and ask, when is the next steamer going to back to India? Because I was trying very hard and I was struggling very hard. So one man was there, Indian man, he said, Swamiji, you have asked so many times, but you are not going to India because you have come with a mission. So Prabhupada said, actually I also did not want to go back without getting some success. But I would go and ask just when is the next time we're going to India. So finally, his mission took off and so that portion he was narrating. And I think Sassurma was also there at the time, sitting in the garden, and it has been recorded. But I remember that very intimate discussion once in his garden.
There was one evening where he was looking around the room, and he said, he was looking at each and every devotee, and he said, I want each and every one of you to open a temple. And he was looking into the face of each devotee. And my impetuous personality, I said, Swamiji, at that time he was called Swamiji, I said, Swamiji, even the girls? And he was laughing. He was always very grandfatherly. And he said, yes, there is no difference. When you are preaching, there is no difference. And he began to speak about Janava Mata, that in the absence of Lord Nityananda, she was leading the whole Sankirtan movement. So he said, yes, there is no difference. It's very, very nice instruction.
I remember the exact date I landed. September 13th, 1976 was the first time I ever went to India as a brahmachari. And I arrived in Delhi, and the devotee said, Prabhupada's in Vrindavan. So I just said, really? I didn't know even Prabhupada was in Vrindavan. So I went straight to Vrindavan. And I think I led a Sunday Artik, the evening Artik that night. So the next morning I was standing out chanting japa after Mangal Artik, and Hansaduta Maharaj at the time came up to me, and he said, Tranakarta, Srila Prabhupada wants to see you in his room. And I was like, I thought he was joking, so I said, joke around. He goes, no, Prabhupada wants to see you now, so let's go. okay. So I go in Srila Prabhupada's room, I pay my obeisances, and I'm very nervous, And I get up on my knees, and Prabhupada just standing by the door. He was just standing there, and he looked at me, and he said, you are playing mridanga very nicely. He said, where have you learned these things? And I said, from tape Srila Prabhupada and playing a kirtan. I said, but it's all your mercy. And he said, Jai. And then he said and he said something that really was, to me, really touched me. He said, I remember you from America. And I was like, Jai Prabhupada. Then he pointed down to his harmonium. He said, so you can play? And I said, yes, Prabhupada. And he sat behind his harmonium. He started singing to Krishna. And actually, Harikesh was recording some of it. He was in the room. And I just started playing for Prabhupada. It was amazing. And it was very, very transcendental atmosphere, to say the least. I mean, the drum was just playing itself. I was really just like awed watching Prabhupada.
Then in his room, I remember once Giriraj Maharaj's parents coming there, Giriraj Das Brahmachari. Giriraj had just come from India. After being in India for 3-4 years, he was a little sick, so he had come to Chicago, and then he came to Los Angeles. And Giriraj's parents came to see Prabhupada in Los Angeles. And his father was a very respectable man. He was a judge in the court there. And it appears that his father was making some gesture to Prabhupada that if there is anything I can do for you, I would be happy to do it, giving donation, huge donation, whatever. Would you please let my son come back to his family? So, because he was the only son of his parents. So Giriraj was sitting there, and Prabhupada said, so Giriraj, what do you think? So Giriraj said, no, Srila Prabhupada, there is no power in this world that can now separate me from your lotus feet. So Prabhupada smiled and he told his father, actually I am not keeping your son, but he likes this Krishna consciousness, so he is staying. I have no objection if he comes to you and continues this activity at home also. But I cannot force him to leave because he has come to me. So, but I can assure you that he will be very happy and peaceful here. And he will make you proud, Father. And then his father was a kind of a, he was a jolly man. So there were so many exchanges. But I remember that both mother and father left very happily from Prabhupada with a very positive impression of Srila Prabhupada. So he knew exactly how to conduct himself, especially with the parents of the devotees. He sympathized with them.